game as well. Oh yeah. Hello everyone.
Hi everyone.
Welcome to the Train Sim World 2020 first ever demonstration. First of all, hello Matt. And
Hi
welcome.
Dimitri.
How you doing? Excited?
How are you?
Excited just as I am. Guys, so first of all, the microphone, and let's check all the sounds to make sure that everything is working fine. So if you can hear us, let us know. If you cannot hear us, let us know as well.
Yeah, do shout.
There's going to be a lot of people today, so make sure you let us know if there are any problems so that everyone can hear us perfectly.
Yeah, we do our best to try and answer questions as they come through. If you've got questions, go ahead and ask them, and as we go. What are we doing today, Dimitri?
That's cute. Restream crashed. We are looking.
Just lost the chat. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, we're having a very first look at Train Sim World 2020 and all the changes that come with it. There's a bunch of changes that I wanted to cover today. All of this will hit the stores, including Steam Store, Xbox, PlayStation this Thursday at 4 p.m. all at the same time. And as we mentioned before, the update itself 2020 is free, but it will also include we'll see a release of a Peninsula Corridor route, which we'll look at on Thursday, 2 hours after the official release. So don't forget to join us this Thursday as well. But today it's only 2020. We want to show you all the major features that Matt and his team has been working on for all this time. All the nice quality of life changes, gameplay changes to make sure that new players feel more welcome. So yeah, let's begin. So we're just simply gonna launch the game for you, and we're gonna go through the very beginning, how you will see the game if you started for the first time. Should start very soon.
any minute now.
Yeah, we're really happy that you guys love the headphones.
There was a new dev diary actually.
Go live game, yeah.
Came out. A new dev diary video came out today as well. So
yes.
After the stream, if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go and do that.
There we go. What a great intro. Right, so we're in. Just to remind everyone what is included in Train Sim World 2020. In Train Sim World 2020, we have repackaged the game. Instead of having those three previous routes that we had, the early routes of Train Sim World, what we have now are the three most recent routes, almost recent routes. Northern Transpennine, and we have Long Island Railroad and the Mainz Passatbahn. So those three are now in the package, and they will be available this Thursday at $24.99 in the UK, $29.99 in Euro, and if I'm not mistaken, it was $39.99 in the US. No, it's $29.99 in the US. So it will be available this Thursday. In addition to those three routes, what you're going to have included is the GWE, and on PC, the heavy haul as well. This is the main menu of the new Train Sim World. Obviously, we're going to skip all this.
Which you won't do, of course.
Which you won't do.
Sign up for Dovetail Live. Get all the latest news and advice. So this process that we're going through now is, in industry we call it onboarding. This is how you get on the game, how you gain in. So probably best to set the scene before we go too far. So essentially, when we go through and we look at doing an update, we want to really understand how people were getting on with the game. You know, where are the challenges, the wants, the wishes, and so forth. And what's most pressing is there stuff that's stopping people playing the game. So we did a bunch of questionnaires, which I know a lot of you filled in. Really appreciate that, and actually invited a bunch of you in to do play testing in the office. And that was so valuable. So a big thank you if any of you were there who came in to do playtesting with us. And we learned an absolute ton about the stuff we never tell you. You know, some of it is little simple things like we tell you how to sit down in a chair and never tell you that you can press the same button to stand up again. So people didn't realise they could stand up. Now that sounds like well, of course you can, but you know, a lot of people don't think like that, and you know, why should they? If that is the way the game works, then maybe we should tell them how it works. So a chunk of what we've done with this update is about making it easier for people to play the game. So what we're going through here, this initial bit, is we're going to show you how we're easing new players into the game. Now, I'm sure most of the people on the chat here are utter experts in the game. But I'm hoping you'll enjoy the experience anyway, because there's some really cool videos that the team have put together, and that's really cool. So this feature here, this is a uniform preview. So you create a character, when you create your profile avatar, you've got the list of uniforms, and that's based on the routes that you've got. So if there's a new route in there that's got additional uniforms, then they'll appear in that list. This is just so you can see what the character you're looking for will look like in those particular uniforms. Bit of leet speak going on here.
A little bit.
So you'll notice we're now taken straight into the game. So what happens now is we're being taken to what's called a game intro. So I'm just going to let Dimitri play this.
Let's take a look at the main controls of exploring and driving trains.
And we'll listen to Martin doing the voiceovers. Notice the subtitles have been improved as well.
Train sim world. You've just been awarded some action points. These are displayed in the top right corner of the screen and count towards your overall experience. It is necessary to be fully observant of the surrounding world. Practice by looking up, down, left and right. Besides operating trains, there are lots of requirements to navigate on foot. Try moving around now. A blue marker indicates that an objective requires action. Walk over to the highlighted marker to complete this objective. This is one of many interactives to be discovered, but not all of them will be as easy to find as this one. Head over to the indicated train doors to learn more about interaction. Some doors need to be manually opened to gain access. Head over and sit in the indicated seat. You can pause the game at any point and review the previous and current tasks. Check it out now, then return to the game when ready.
So when we jump into this pause menu real quick, you'll notice that this menu looks a little bit different. Now when we get to a scenario or something, you'll see this showing a bit more information, but notice that you can immediately see tasks we haven't done yet are starting to appear on here, as well as the task that's current, which is the white one. And if you click on message log, you see these are tabs now, and you can see everything that's there is now tabulated a bit nicer, and the time it came up. So sometimes when you were thinking, what was I doing? You press escape, you can now, that was the instruction that was given to me 60 seconds ago. That's probably what I should be doing. Just a couple of times, and when I played it in the past, I was like, it's a simple thing just to add the time, but actually it just helps you understand what was going on.
It's now time to head up to the front. Follow the indicated markers as before. Open the door and head into the driver's cab. A lot of time will be spent operating trains, so when ready, sit in the driver's seat.
Characters that you've got already will be fine, John. You'll just carry on using them.
A heads-up display has appeared on the right side of the screen. This is a guide to what the train is doing. This is a speed display. The white needle shows current speed, and the red marker indicates the maximum permitted speed. This is a direction display. An arrow will indicate forwards, reverse, and neutral directions. This is the power display. A number will indicate what position the power control is in. These are brake pressure dials. They will indicate how much pressure is in various brake systems and show when the pressure is changing. In the top right are the signal and speed limit displays. These feature an indication of what is approaching and a countdown distance to when they will come into effect. Some of these displays can be hidden via the settings menu for a more challenging experience.
Right, so what we've also got up here is the next signal display. So if you notice, that's the display on the right hand side has been trimmed down a bit. It's using a bit less screen estate up. The fonts have been made a little bit bigger. And you'll also notice that the red, yellow, green have now got symbol inside them. Now, as well as being relevant to railways, those are standard clear approach caution, clear caution stop symbols. What it does is it helps colourblind users see the difference between these three indicators as well. Instead of just having three coloured markers, you've now got difference in terms of their shape and the markers in them as well. So just a change there for everybody. Personally, I find that as I've been driving them, I found that actually having the physical shape in there has actually made it more quick for your brain to react to them as well.
So let's continue.
This train is ready to go. Pull the indicated handle all the way back to get moving.
Thank you, Martin. It was a great introduction.
We get to the end of the platform and we're kicking a video.
Continue your journey in Train Sim World. Take part in training designed to teach you how to operate on the railway. Engage in scenarios that will present challenges and enhance your skills. Dive into a full timetable on the railway. Whether you're driving, riding, or watching trains, you have the freedom of the line. Each route has a set of jobs such as posters to place or fences to fix. Find them all and complete the job list for each route. Welcome to Train Sim World.
Welcome, folks.
Yes.
So this is our first look at the debrief screen. Now, we didn't really do a lot, so it's not going to show us a great deal of stuff, but we'll see more of the debrief screen as we move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna play one of the scenarios on the MSB route. So actually, we're gonna go for the same introduction level on MSB, so mine's Besatban, and then we will play one of the scenarios. So this will take us quite a lot of time and will give us an opportunity to talk to you and answer your questions.
Bone Death 1989, will the game finally be in Italian? So actually the entire, so all the core content is, of these routes, and the core game is now localized in English, obviously English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Polish, Russian, and simplified Chinese, for all the content that comes as part of the base 2020 update, including Pen Corridor when that comes out on Thursday.
Sorry,
So I don't know whether you...
This is Lower Banoff on the main Spessart bar. Follow the markers through the subway to catch the train.
There's a collectible down here.
Why did you have to tell it? I wanted to show it as a surprise.
Oh, okay. That didn't happen, folks. I never said a word. In most of these tutorials, there is a collectible you can pick up on the way.
Yeah.
The new VO guy, Fab Diva, is Martin, who is logged in as Train Sim World at the moment on the chat. Big thanks to Martin.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Cars have been added, Ali Dobe, to the routes that come with the pack. So NTP, Long Island, and GWE now have cars on them. MSB always had cars.
Main Spessartbahn offers the ability to ride and drive both passenger and freight trains over the formidable Spessart ramp between Aschaffenburg and Gmunden. You are currently riding in a double-deck coach being hauled by a BR 146.2 electric locomotive. Double-deck coaches have been operating in Germany since the 1970s to boost capacity.
Questions coming in. How much will the game cost?
Train Sim World allows you to
Later.
ride and drive trains from a selection of
finishing
internal
this
and
tutorial.
external camera angles. Let's take a look now by exploring the exterior of this train. Other internal and external camera views are available to be explored. These can be accessed from the number keys.
John, you don't. If you already own content, you don't lose that content. So the content that's already in your game is yours, remains yours.
You've only travelled a short distance here, so let's take a look at what else there is to enjoy. Welcome to Bavaria, and one of the busiest freight railways in Germany. Start your journey at Aschaffenburg, at the head of either a passenger or freight train. Operate special banking locomotives out of Laufach station. Drive through beautiful hills and up the grueling 2.1% gradient of the Spessart ramp. Arrive at the summit of Heigenbrücken, a station which has now passed into history, and then descend to the eastern limit at Gmunden am Main. As you travel, be sure to repair any damaged fencing, place route maps, clear fallen logs, and add safety cones to any dangers at the stations. Welcome to Main Spessartbahn.
So we're starting to see a bit more on the debriefing now. Adrian Graham, no, that's not my voice. That's Martin, who's logged in as the channel at the moment.
Yeah, he's a moderator and he's watching, so he's seeing all your messages. Right, so someone was asking how much the price. Before we move on to the next thing,
Let's answer some questions.
Price, as I've said, base game Train Sim World 2020 will be $24.99 in the UK. It will $29.99 in Euro, and it will be $29.99 in the US. So the price remains the same. As for upcoming Peninsula Corridor route, the base price will be at $24.99, but there will be a 10% discount on launch. And if you want to buy Train Sim World 2020 plus Peninsula Corridor as a deluxe edition, this will cost you $39.99.
Hopefully that answers that. A couple of people have asked about what happens on the day, particularly if you already own the game. Effectively, leave your machine ready to take an update. When the update is launched, it will automatically download and install if your system's set up to accept that. Your game will start looking like this pretty much immediately. LED catcher, no pink headphones are not required, but they do make it much cooler.
Yeah.
So you get what you don't get is, if, say, for example, you don't own main specifier button, then you won't get main specifier button as part of this. If you want the content, you'll have to buy TSW 2020 to actually get that. But the actual menus, the core game, the features that you're seeing here, that will appear in your game straight away. So we're on the menus now. So immediately you've got this new journeys menu on the right hand side. You've also got this thing that's underneath us here, which is like a route progress panel, and you can see sort of how many services you've done, how much route distance you've done on it, and you can see what your progress is on the collectible. So you immediately get, without having to dig away into profile screens, you can immediately see what your progress is on that route. Now if you click the world icon on the bottom left, you can see you can now select, this is where you'd normally pick the routes. Now normally you'd have 2 clicks or a double click to get through here. This is now a single click. So if we pick, for example, the main specifier button, which I think is where we were before, but there you go. You can see it's a single click to get through now. So we've tried to get rid of some of these double clicks and pressing E to go through and so forth, try and make the menus a little bit some more streamlined. We've also done a couple of bits of renaming. So generally one of the things we found out was that people didn't understand the option at the bottom there which said service or service mode. They thought it was something to do with train maintenance or settings or servicing or anything like that, and so we thought we'd change that, and the consensus seemed to be the word timetable, which so it represents a timetable, so that seems reasonable. And also tutorials are now sort of in line with the way that the industry more refers to them, so they're now training and training modules. And we've also added journeys. Now before we go into that, there's already been a question about what is Switch Diorama. So let's go to Switch Diorama.
One thing I've noticed with our window is a little bit blocking some of the content on the screen.
Yeah.
But
So there's two dioramas. You can now choose what you want to be for your diorama, and there will be more dioramas to come. So if this is the new diorama, rural, but if we very quickly click on depot, you'll recognise depot. So if you prefer the original diorama, it's here. It has been upgraded a little bit. It now better supports 21:9 and 16:3 resolution or aspect ratio systems. So you don't. Previously, there would have been a void of scenery just to the left of the depot here. You should find that that's now got stuff in it. It doesn't look quite so bad. It looks a lot better. But otherwise than that, is basically identical. And then if you look over on rural, this is the new one. So if we click back to come out of that. So one of the things you'll notice in the background of rural is cars moving around in the background. Just, it's already doing something a bit different to what we've had previously, which is quite cool. So let's start at the top then and have a look at journeys. So what is journeys? So journeys, if we'll come back to the continue in a minute and go to the next option, the one which is the main specifier journey. In here you've got the various chapters in the journey, and if you click on chapter 1, there are a number of steps. Now this is not introducing new gameplay. This is using the tutorials, the services, the scenarios that were already in there and stringing them together in some sort of logical sequence so that you can see what your progress is. So you can see when you hover over a chapter what's your progress on the bits inside it, and then on the journey at the level above you can have you can see what your progress is inside that journey. And then you just proceed through. If you just to double click on one of these or hit start journey in the bottom there, then it will just take you into that gameplay and off you go. And then when you get to the end of that gameplay, whatever that is, there's then a continue journey button, which is a bit like the one on the previous screen. And if you click that, it just takes you to the next one. So one of the problems that if you're not massively into train games, it's trying to work out what's the next thing I do. I finished this tutorial, what do I do now? And there's 500 services you could play, but which one? So what this does is it curates the services with some nice weather setups, some different seasons and so forth, and puts them all in there so that you get a nice experience. All the original gameplay choices are still there. If you go into timetable mode, it still works exactly the same way, and scenarios still works there. So if you don't think journeys are for you, that's fine. But actually, what we're finding is that people are preferring to start going into this and just work through this. So, you can see, you'll notice also the medals starting to show up here as well on the right-hand side, and they'll light up as you earn the medals based on the score. So if you just hover over one of the scenarios there, I think you see you get the details, and you can see your best score up in the top corner and so forth. So you're starting to get some of that information. So if we click, that's journeys. If we click back, and if you want to resume your journey at any point, you just literally go into journeys and click continue current journey. It'll just carry you on with whatever you were doing. It'll take you on to the next one. So if you click back and go into, let's go into scenarios. Training hasn't really changed. It's the list of tutorials. So scenario screen has been flipped. So where the list was on the right and the map was on the left, it now reads from left to right. So you get the list of scenarios, and then when you click on a scenario, so if you click on Saturday Circuit, then it will show you update the map. It will also tell you what trains are involved as well. So, and this is only on the new content. This will be something we'll add to at some point as well for other older content. But it's actually unclear if you're not a train enthusiast. Well, Saturday Circuit, what am I going to be driving in Saturday Circuit? And now we're going to tell you, in this instance, you're going to be driving the Dosto and the 146.2. And if you notice, there is a search. You can actually click on that search and type stuff in, so that's then a search filter. So if you just type SAT, there you go. So you can type that, and that works on the service selection screen as well. So if you go back up one again and go into timetable, it looks much the same. Actually, no, sorry. We've combined these two screens together again in an effort to try and get you into the game faster and get out of the menus. These two screens have now been combined into one single screen. So if you just pick the 146.2 and change it to Spring Cloudy, which is just one right hand flick on the, that's it. And then click continue, which will you straight in. You've got your list of services. Functionally, the screen works identical to what you've seen previously. It just was slightly more natural in terms of how you flow from left to right. Is this for PS4? Yes, this is applying to all platforms. And you can see the medals showing up as well. And if you click on one of those, it will update the thing. You can see your best score on there. Now we're running with a fresh profile, so there are no best scores logged on here yet. So that's what that is. So press escape. I think that's it for a menu overview of where we're at the moment. So when you click to the next one in journey mode, do you need to walk to the next train, or do you get teleported? Effectively, you get a loading screen, and then you'll start that particular bit of game. So you'll be in the cab ready to go, or whatever is appropriate for that, whether it's a scenario or a service.
Any questions, guys? Come on.
Yeah, let's have some questions. I possibly missed a bunch of questions.
Before we move on to the next thing, shoot your questions.
Will journeys be available on older routes too? So Sandpatch Grade has one, GWE has one, and these three routes do. Penn Corridor does. As far as the plan for deploying journeys onto older routes, would love to. We'll get back to you on that. They don't actually take a huge amount of time to make. Lots and lots of people talking about the editor. I still don't have any update to give you on the editor. It's still in work. There's still lots going on with it. When I've got something sensible, then we'll definitely be out talking to you about the editor. But no, not at the moment. And by no means is it cancelled or anything like that. It's still definitely in progress. Was a give up service button added? No, it wasn't, Stephen Jam. But it is on our to-do list to do fairly soon, actually. What we really need is something like a system where people can log questions so we can go through them, because they keep sliding off the top of the screen. We should think about that in future, maybe for Thursday.
Yeah. Right.
Is that third rail? Yes. So this one of the advantages of the rural of this one is we've actually put the third rail and overhead in, which means if you select, say for example, on ACS 64, it will raise the pantograph up because it finds that the overhead line is there.
Looks like our restream.
Nitroburn has asked, is there a complete my collection? I don't believe there is a complete my collection, no. Sorry, we've just had to restart the chat, so. The easy, moderate and advanced driving modes, they're the same as they have been in the past, so it's the actual way you drive the trains hasn't changed. I don't have the gigabyte size of the update. Fairly large, I would hesitate to guess. Will a baby bullet be added to Peninsula Corridor? Well, we shall have to see. We shall have to see. If that's something you want to see, make sure you let us know. Will there be cold and dark startup? So that's always been a feature of the locos. It's just not always used in service mode or in some of the scenarios, but it's definitely there, so you can shut them down and bring them back up again if you want. Will there ever be routes in countries other than England, Germany and the USA? Yes, at some point. I'm sure there will be. Don't have any plans specifically to share. Does MPH or KPH automatically change? Not yet, no. No, that doesn't yet. It is on our near to-do list, though, something I definitely want to see in there. Are there moving cars on GWE? There are. Any estimate on the update for older routes for journeys? No, I don't have any estimate on that one at the moment. We'll share more of that when we get it. The sound bugs. So some people are talking about sound bugs. So there has been quite a lot of work done in terms of what's called occlusions. So interior and exterior and so forth. It's not 100% yet, but it's significantly better than it was. One of the major issues that's been resolved is how tunnels are handled and the occlusions you get in tunnels and the combinations. If you open the window, go into a tunnel, and then close the window, the game would have got a little bit confused previously. But a lot of that stuff is now resolved. So you'll find generally the occlusion stuff is in a better place, but there is ongoing work to take it to another step. Does the GP40-2 physics update come with 2020? It does, yes, Nitro Burn. Tintin, there will be release notes, yes. There isn't a motion blur toggle yet for consoles. It is on our task list at some point though.
Yeah, so we're gonna be playing this scenario, so that we could have a look at the what? Oh yeah, oh sorry, at the debrief screen later when we're finished with it, so it will give you a much better overview and the analysis of my driving.
We shall be ready to judge.
I don't doubt it at all.
Does the new route have its own diorama? No, there's only the 2 routes at the moment. Routes won't necessarily come with new dioramas, so hold this space basically for news on when new dioramas will turn up. Essentially, the capability is there now, so we'll talk to you about when they'll arrive when we do.
RFB.
Can you make your own trains? Once the editing tools are available, Patrick, you'll be able to make your own anything, just about. So the first time you touch controls in there, you are getting some boosts, some little XP boosts on your profile as well. It only happens the first time you use them. There's no extra extensions or anything to Great Western Express. No, Simon Schofield. What's my favourite new feature? The debrief screen, and in a minute, let's just get. There's another thing I really quite like, and we'll get Dimitri to show us in a minute.
I can show now if you want, or.
Bunch of people still asking about the editor. As I mentioned, no news on that one, I'm afraid. Very excited to share news when there is news, but there isn't any at this point.
I'm being silly, I forgot how to switch the headlights on. Do you remember?
It's on the back wall. You want to set that to... zoom into it a bit. Yeah, that's correct. So look at the dashboard in front of you. And why are you not seeing lights?
It's really weird because I did see them before. Anyway.
Oh, is the master light switch? Is that, what's that one? Yeah, turn
Oh.
the
I
master
switched it
switch
off
on.
myself. Smart.
Any more interoperability of trains between Great Western, West Somerset, Transpennine and Saltburn? So, no is the short answer to that. Not immediately. It is something I've been looking at. In particular, I'd like to get some of the West Somerset stuff running on Great Western. So that's a watch this space at the moment. I don't have any news to share on that one. That's required a layered load of other features and things, some of which are in the game in the underlying tech. But it's like many things, nothing's easy. Rail driver support. There's no news on that, I'm afraid. Same for Track IR. Still definitely on my list. I mean, I love the rail driver, but. Trying to look for questions as that are coming up. The chat was moving thick and fast.
There's a lot of people watching. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, 746. Blue marker on the speedometer is AFB, GBRW. So that's the target speed for the cruise control system.
Zugbeeinflussung.
Have you ever considered developing an Irish route? I'd love to see an Irish route. I mean, the Enterprise is a particularly nice line, and I really like the Dart as well. So there's some really cool stuff out there, but we'll see. Will services completed already get rated, or will you be able to run them again? So essentially, because there was no scoring recorded, there is no rating to apply. So the tick remains. So you can see which ones you have run before. You're not going to lose your ticks. But if you want medals on your services, then you have to run them again, and then the tick will be replaced by whatever the appropriate medal is. So if you now press T, and then you can use the mouse and scroll over that and move it up and down. So you can now see what's going on, what you've done, what your targets are. If you scroll down a bit further, you can see what your next instructions are. Keep going. So you can see we're going to be stopping at Schaffenberg, and then we've got to park the loco and disembark. Now, if this was a passenger train, then you would see all of the upcoming stops. So immediately you can see where you're going to be stopping, where you expected to be at those places, and you just press T to hide it again. And that same information is available on the pause menu. Obviously, you need to pause the screen, but it's exactly the same information that's available on pause. So yeah, I found myself using the T key a fair bit, particularly on passenger journeys, because if you just press T key briefly, you'll notice that the AP is actually action points are shown there. So where objectives award you action points, you can see it. So when you, I can talk about scoring now. Actually, this is probably a good time to talk about scoring. Press T. So scoring is it's been a complete overhaul of scoring from the ground up. The team's done an amazing job of rethinking scoring from what was there previously, which is one of the reasons we talked about renaming it, and instead of calling it score, it's action points, because it's what you earn for doing actions essentially, and you now earn score for driving within the speed limit. So while that speedometer is white, every now and again, if you keep an eye on the top, there you go, driving under speed limit plus 30 AP. So it's telling you why you're earning score now, and that 30 AP is getting put onto your score. So you're now getting a score all the time you're within limit. If that speedometer goes yellow because you're within a small fraction of over the limit, then you will get 15 points. You get half your score. And if it goes red, then you don't get any score. You never lose score, but you don't get any new score. So you want to keep it down. The other thing that applies to is it applies to the whole of a section. So if you imagine the track is broken up into little sections, go that way. If you overspeed briefly and then come back down again, when it awards the points at the end of the section, it will say you only got 15 or you only got 0, even though at that point you were behaving. You were within speed limit. So you lose the points for the rest of that for the entirety of that section essentially. If you overspeed. So keep control of your speed. When it comes to passenger stops, you will get scored for making the stop. You will get scored for how accurate your stop is in space. So if it wants you to stop at the 3-car passenger stop marker, then you will get scored for how close you are to that. And it's like a score award. Imagine a triangle where this is the peak, this is ideal, and then the further you are either side of the ideal, you get less points. And the same applies to time. So you get another bonus then for how accurate are you for being on time. Train networks run at their best when you are on time, not early, not late. Again, you're not losing points if you're too early or late, or even if you stop at completely the wrong end of the platform. You just don't get the bonus. So there's lots of bonuses available if you stop accurately and you're on time, and you drive within the speed limit. You can get some epically big scores. I'll scroll down.
Yeah, let me know when this happens.
There we go. So yes, you keep getting the notice of why you're earning score, but where the T key can come in quite handy, particularly on the passenger runs, is that you'll see, for example, you make your passenger stop, press the T key, and it'll say, oh, you earn plus 497 for that passenger stop. So you can immediately see what you're running like. Are there any new scenarios for the 2020 update? No, there's no new scenarios or services, I think, with the 2020 update. Obviously, Pen Corridor has all sorts of new gameplay with it.
Yep. Since we're at it, maybe we could have a look at
does the game monitor how timely you brake? So no, scoring is going to evolve, and it's going to manage at some point in the future. The idea is that it will add more fast factors that it will check you on. So for example, we want it to be able to look at how you approach red lights and so forth, but it doesn't do that yet. At the moment, it's objectives, speed maintenance, and passenger stops and how accurate you do those, which is plenty to start off with, but there'll be more stuff coming that will be tracked later on, just to see how you're running. We're interested to know what you think. What do you think should be added to the scoring as well? So send your thoughts into us. And that, same for PZB and CIFA as well. They're not tracked at the moment, but it'd be nice to give a score bonus if you've got the safety systems turned on. So all these things they're in our mind, but they're not in the game yet. Is that what the medals are for? So the medals are similar to TS1 insofar as if the medal is for achieving 6,000 points, then if you get more than 6,000 AP, then you will get that medal. And the number of points is different per scenario. So because you might be doing something which is going to be a really long, complicated scenario, therefore there'll be more points available for doing that. You need to scroll down again. Actually, do you want to pop up the tab menu? So this is the new tab menu. It's been redesigned so that door open controls on the left are on the left, and on the right they're on the right. And similarly, lock and unlock are always available. So previously, if you'd opened one door on, say, the Dosto coach, and when you went and sat down and you wanted to unlock the rest of the doors, you'd have to lock that door, then unlock them all again. So now you just always click the unlock right. And similarly, you've now got the unlock both and lock both, which is now available on the bottom, which was never there before. And then contact signaler is on the top. So you can take that off now, and you've got an expect stop signal.
I know.
Most of the keys can be redefined in the settings screen, Slam Door Fun. Will there be services with 12 cars on the LRR? So the Long Island service mode hasn't been changed at the moment. Territorial Revenge. Multiplayer, no news on that one at the moment. We're focusing on making a better single player experience before we look to the multiplayer experience. Still very much on the roadmap, but it's not priority at the minute. Great Western Extension, no, there's no changes to Great Western at the moment. Console version of the T key, James Stevens. Good question. Console version of the T key. So here's my handy Xbox controller I happen to have available over here. You would normally press the view button, I think it's called, the one with the squares, and you'd normally press that to bring up the map. If you press and hold it, it will toggle the T key functionality. On the PlayStation, you'd normally press the touchpad to bring up the map, press and hold the touchpad to bring up the T key functionality. I really should figure out what name that functionality is. We'll call it the T key function from now on. Any more up-to-date UK content coming this year? There's lots of stuff in the plans, Ian Barclay. There's nothing I can share at the moment, but bear with us. Oh, a tram route would be awesome, Banana Radio. What sort of tram route would you like to see, Banana Radio? Are you thinking like Blackpool trams, or are you thinking the net? Or
Estonia has lots of trams.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
No updates on passenger information systems at the moment. Train 2001 and a bunch of other people who've asked about that. There's been some thoughts internally about what we can do about it, but I've got nothing to show or anything at the moment. It's not forgotten though. Trust me, it's not forgotten. Ultra Kid Pro, so the new DLC, Peninsula Corridor, that is going to be the entire focus of Thursday's stream. Today we're showing, hey, this is what's new about TSW 2020. What we didn't want to do is try and squeeze doing everything in a 1.5 hour slot. So we thought, let's do 2 streams, focus on what's the new TSW 2020 today, and then we're going to have a look at Peninsula Corridor on Thursday. I'm super hyped to show that.
And I think it's really good that you get to see 2 streams, which is amazing. And talking about your favorite product as well.
Will Heavy Haul come to console, Hampton Harper? Never say never, but there's no plans at the moment. It needs a lot of work to be able to make it work on consoles. It was the first route that was made, and the team have got much more efficient route building techniques now that would need to be taken on board. Evie wants me to wear a pink shirt on Thursday. We need pink Train Sim World shirts. There's
We should have
gotten
them for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we need to make it happen. Advanced keyboard functionality on consoles. Currently Xbox sort of works, meaning you can get the HUD off, but doesn't work on all trains. So there's nothing been done at the moment for keyboard functionality. I know that Xbox added more support for keyboards in a recent update. So there's something for us to look at, but there's no updates in 2020 as far as that's concerned. Will there be more in-depth tutorials for like Germany that helps understand safety systems and the signals? So we're not going to do in-game tutorials for that, I think. There's nothing in here. We are looking at what we can do in terms of video support at the moment, as well as other articles and so forth. But that's in progress at the moment, and when we've got news on that, we'll share that with you. Oh, and a pink TSW hat. Oh, it just needs to be the official colour, doesn't it, really? Are there any route-based changes, or is it all engine and gameplay based? So nothing's fundamental on the routes, TJH. Some of the routes have now got cars added to them that didn't have them before. There is going to be a patch list coming out, which will give you the list of what's been changed. Can you have an option to change green to another colour if you can't stand green? Not at the moment. Trust me, you get used to the green. Initially I was unsure about the green, but now I love it. Dynamite Andy, if you're running on a PS4, you can use a Bluetooth keyboard actually, and Control 1 will put the destination in the top corner. If you press that Control 1 now.
Control 1?
Control number 1, that's it. You see how it's now appeared in the top left next to stop at location? If you've got a PS4, but you plug a Bluetooth keyboard in, that works. I don't know if that works on the Xbox, but I know I've tried it on my PS4 and it works. It works a treat. I'd like to get that into a setting at some point, but it's not there yet. Any chances for a new German route? Oh, just for you at some point, yeah. What UK route comes with the new update? This is the Northern Transpennine route comes with it. Controls staying the same for Xbox One? They are. Yes, we had no complaints about the controls on the consoles, so everyone's been telling us they work great. Any chances for a Dutch route? Well, we'll see. I'd like to see a Dutch route actually. There's some really nice, I love the variety of trains over there. Still feels like there's so much variety compared to over here. How you doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah.
I think pretty good. I think we could move on to some of the features of the update, if you want.
And the what, sorry?
Of the update. Of the game, core update and all that stuff.
I think we've covered a large
Some
amount
things.
of the.
Can you
of the
talk
stuff
about
now.
the? You really distracted me.
I'm terrible.
Talk about the car collector.
Oh yes, so there has been a number of people asking about changes to achievements, and I think on most platforms, the one achievement stopping everyone getting all of the core achievements is the GP38 car collector achievement. Happy to report that now works. Sorry about that. That is now working fine. So PlayStation users should be able to get your platinums.
Yay! You really distracted me with this one. Stopped 200 meters before the signal.
VR support would be amazing, Woody TV. I'm a huge fan of virtual reality, but I'm also very realistic about it. And there's not enough people who also like the small niche of trains and the small niche of VR that would actually make it to where it would be viable. But no, I'm constantly watching that because the minute it makes sense, then I want to be on that. It's the idea of, I've used Train Sim World in a VR headset because there's a debug mode in our version where you can enable it, and it's incredible. But it's there's a lot of work to do to take that to bring it into a releasable thing.
Come on, guys, half an hour left, so shoot all the questions you have.
Is there ability to use two-tone horn via PS4 control buttons? No, there isn't, because there aren't enough buttons to do it. What you'd have to do is get hold of use the mouse look and use that to operate the buttons. So because of the you've only got a very finite number of controls on a controller. It's you just press and click the left button. If you want to use the other horn, then you'll have to manually operate it. Any updates to AI train dispatcher? So that's a very internal question, Acela, in terms of right in the depths of the code that you probably won't even notice. But yes, there is a new dispatcher that's running. It's not running on all routes. We can run different dispatchers on different routes. So, for example, Peninsula Corridor uses the new dispatcher. Don't think any of the existing routes will use the new dispatcher. What does it mean to what you're doing? Probably you wouldn't know the difference. It just means it's working out how to route trains using and how to resolve conflicts in a cleverer method. Mouse of PS4, similar, Gary. I think that at the moment there's been no change in terms of using mice and keyboard on consoles. If that's something that you want to, see as raised up a priority list, then make sure that you've raised a ticket or let the company know on Facebook and other social media. That's something that you want to see happen, and it will, your voice will be heard. When you extend the HSTs on GWE, the 8 cars, annoys you that there are only 8. Are you talking about on console platforms, We Patriotic? Extending them will then require us to recheck the performance, but it's certainly something to add to a list of potential things to look at. When will Track IR be supported? There's no plans directly at the moment, Gigi, but it is sort of on my mental list of things that I'd like to see us get done at some point. But I don't have any dates to share on that. Will the accelerometer be on GWE? So no, it hasn't been added to GWE. At some point I'd like to see that happen, but it hasn't been added at the moment.
Talk about influence on.
Is the AI dispatcher going to be adaptive in terms of factoring late services over local express? It doesn't reorder services. It's more about dealing with conflicts and who gets to go first, and where trains change directions, go into and out of portals. There's a large number of complex, completely non-obvious circumstances that could cause problems that the new dispatcher can handle much better. Samson, huge fan of the game on PS4, own everything TSW, keep up the good work. Would like to see a zoom function on console like you can do on PC. That's an excellent idea, Samson. I have a sneaky suspicion if you plug a Bluetooth keyboard in, the up and down arrow will do what you want. Try it. I must admit I can't remember if I've tried that yet. Emilio, you hope Pacific Surfliner will come at some point. Yeah, me too, actually. It's a lovely route. Beautiful scenery. Not to mention F59 PHI, but that's a future problem. FPS improved. I think there's been some back-end changes which may have some impact improving frame rate, but nothing of specific note to call out. So, but I'm interested to hear what how you find the changes. Teresai, I have a question. When my TSW will be updated to Train Sim World 2020, would I have the new routes I don't own? You would not. You would have all the new user interface, you'd have the new journeys for the routes that you do have that have been given journeys. But for example, if you don't own main specifier, then you won't suddenly own it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you can buy the new edition of Train Sim World 2020 for the same price as you would buy a whole route previously. So it's a pretty good saving. Yeah, shoot any questions that you might have about the package itself as well, because we are here to answer it. I think this has been one of the most discussed things, everything to do with how the package works in different circumstances. So, yeah, make sure that you ask the questions.
Any Moto fan, any news on head movement in cab, like on bumpy tracks, acceleration and braking and such? So, yeah, there's been some internal work on that. It's not in TSW 2020, but there has been some work on that stuff. So, at some point, hopefully, there'll be something to actually demonstrate on that. I know what I've seen of it so far is awesome. Dimitri's doing a fantastic job, isn't he, Motocross? He always does.
Thank you very much.
When will other companies be able to develop for TSW? So there are a small number of third-party developers who already have access to the tools from a testing perspective, and that'll open up wider. When we'll give you news when that happens. What do you get in the deluxe edition versus standard if you already have TSW? So if you have TSW and you buy the standard, then you get the routes that come in standard. So Long Island, Main Specific Barn, and Northern Trans-Pennine, plus Great Western and Sandpatch Grade on the PC, or Great Western on all platforms. If you buy Digital Deluxe, then effectively the difference is Penn Corridor. That's the difference between the two routes. If you already bought Digital Deluxe for TSW, you still need to get Digital Deluxe for 2020 to get the Penn Corridor. How can you explain how the package will work if you already own TSW? So if you already own TSW, then on the day of the upgrade, I think it's about 3 or 4 p.m. 4 p.m. There'll be the game will just automatically update, and you'll get the new code. The new game, you'll get the updates, the new menus, the lovely green user interface. Anything. So if you've already got, for example, Great Western, or you've already got Northern Trans-Pennine, then you'll get the journeys for those routes will appear, and medals will be available, and all that stuff. If you then go and purchase TSW 2020, then you'll get the missing routes that you don't have. If you purchase the Digital Deluxe Edition, you'll get Penn Corridor. I believe Penn Corridor is also available separately as well.
It will be available separately with a 10% discount
with
as well.
a 10% discount. So if you don't want to get the other routes that are in the main pack, you just want Penn Corridor, you can do that as well. I don't have an estimate of file size of the upgrade, Acela. It's quite large. I would expect it to be a big download.
Yeah.
There is going to be a fixed list going out, Nitroburn.
Zugbeeinflussung.
Someone keeps asking about London Underground. I'd love to do London Underground route, but no plans at the moment. Are there no options to customize the HUD via menu on console now? There's no additional menus or options. There are some, so you can control some aspects like whether you see the next speed indicator or signal indicator. That stuff was always there before. It's still there. Otherwise, you'd still need to use a keyboard to get access to that other functionality. At some point, again, it's good to get that in the settings. Fane, if you have all TSW routes to date, on the release date you get the 2020 update, and the only thing you need to get is the new route, correct? Yes. How much will Peninsula Corridor cost? I think it's £24.99 pounds less 10% discount. So normal route price, with a 10% discount. Plans on new German DLCs, Matin? Yes, always got plans for lots of stuff. We try to plan quite a long way ahead. No. Restreamer is locked up. Apologies, folks. Right, the chat's back up and working again. Keep firing questions. There's not going to be a pre-order for Peninsula Corridor, no. New lighting on MSB, no. I believe that's the same. There's been some lighting changes on Northern Trans-Pennine. Some of the stations have been rebaked. to improve how they look and to make them more memory efficient. There's a crash on console some people were experiencing. That meant that around, I think, miles plating or something like that, sometimes you'd get a hard crash to the console. That should be fixed, hopefully. Let us know. If you were getting crashed and you no longer are, or you still are, do please let us know. There's been some work, a lot of work there to try and resolve what that crash was.
Yeah, and as usual, don't forget that we will post all the patch notes online, probably a day before the release, so hopefully tomorrow. But you will be able to have a look at everything that's included. We're not covering everything on the stream.
What's the blue bar on the speedometer travel news? That blue bar is the cruise control, the AFB,
RFB.
target speed.
RFB.
Ever considered adding unlockables as incentive to collect or complete everything on a specific route? No, I don't like that idea personally. I think one of the things that defines sort of train enthusiasts is that you like to drive the train you want to drive, and I think if you had to unlock it, I don't know if that would be particularly popular. It's a popular game mechanic, but 10% discount is all platforms. PS4 and Xbox?
I actually don't know. I actually have to go back to...
Okay, we'll find that out.
Yeah, we'll find out. I would assume yes, but I'll have to check.
Twisted Humour, love the detail on US freight locos. The details in the loco setups are very accurate to the real thing, even the alerts are awesome. That's really good to hear. Thank you, Twisted Humour. What are you guys looking at releasing after Peninsula Corridor? More stuff! All the trains.
Talk about inflation.
Any plans to control to be a passenger to buy tickets, walk on trains, but in third person view? I'd like to do more with the passenger view side of things, the passenger mode, if you want to call it that, but there's nothing at the moment to talk about. Has the sky been updated? No, but there's no, there isn't. There hasn't been. There was an update to the sky quite some time ago.
Not that long ago in Cheese Valley Line.
Yeah, there was an update a while back, but nothing for 2020. Is it still drop in and out services? So the game fundamentally works the same way, Dynamite Andy. So you can get to the end of a service, get out, go and find another train, get into that one, and do what you want. Even if you do a service via journey mode, it'll say, do you want to continue the journey or go back into the train you were just in? And then you can say, actually, I've just arrived at Paddington and I fancy driving that HST over there. Do you want to continue a journey? No, I'll stay in the world, and then you can then just carry on doing what you want. So you've got really quite a lot of flexibility to make the next bit of gameplay what you want to do. The darkness, I think, is because it's very overcast. Don't forget. The level of cloud has quite a big impact on the lighting in the route. I also don't know what season this is in, which will also impact how dark it gets at a particular time. Are medals and AP only for the provided scenarios, or do you get rated for custom journeys? For any service, you get you can get a medal. Any service, any scenario, there's medals and there's AP score. At this point, that is all you can do. So if you run a service by getting into it, then you'll get the score at the end of it. Please add more variety of trains. Yes, there's always looking at more to come. You enjoyed the music on the Peninsula Corridor video blitz. I know the creative team do an amazing job on the videos. Big shout out to them. Do you get points for using the horn correctly? No, my chef, you don't. That's actually quite a complicated thing to do, because there's, in America they've got Rule 14, which is quite a complex set of rules for when you apply the horn, how you apply the horn, and then trying to understand, well, have you done a Rule 14L correctly on approach to a grade crossing, actually is non-trivial. I'd definitely like to be able to do that sort of thing. Another loco for Long Island. I'd love to do that kind of thing. I've started collecting some research for various things, but there's no plans at the moment to share. Like a lot of things, it's just a matter of hoovering up whatever research we can find and putting it away, and then seeing when the right time comes up. What's the max amount of cars a freight train can handle on TSW20? You got together about 70 before you had a problem. Well, I know somebody else did about 260 before they had a problem. It's very much down to your system, I think.
CFAP.
Adding skins or concept art as unlockables. Potentially. We'll have to see what happens in the future. I think skins become very difficult because, again, if what you want is a Network Southeast train, then if the only way you can get that is by doing something you don't particularly want to do, then... Do you get points for wearing wacky headphones? No, but you get props. You get kudos. Any Scottish routes in the works? Nothing in the works. What sort of Scottish routes would you like to see? Definitely, maybe. Make sure you let us know. I might miss it in the chat, but ping it over on the forums or on social media or something.
You know what it is. It's definitely Glasgow to Edinburgh.
Glasgow, Edinburgh would be awesome. But there's also something nice about the Highland Line. And
yeah.
taking a ratty old DMU up the hills to Inverness. Edinburgh, Glasgow, push-pull class 47. Ooh, yes. I like where you're going with that. Prefab, there's always new trains coming out all the time, but they take quite a long time to make. Welsh scenery in TSW avionics, yes. Definitely. I'm a big fan of trains generally. I don't really have particular regions and eras, so when people say to me, what's your favourite train? It's like anything that's a train. What's your favourite route? I don't know, ones that have trains on them.
Even the Pacer?
Especially the Pacer. That just makes it so much better.
So why didn't you release it for TVL?
Because 101. 101, it's a boggy. Fantastic train. Really want to get the head sway in before we do the Pacer. Because then you'll appreciate the Pacer so much more.
Yeah.
How long does it take to make a route, BT? I want to say, there's two different times there. You've got the amount of hours that's spent by all the people, which is considerable, and then there's the elapsed time. So probably 3 months. Let's call it 3 months. It's probably a bit more than that. Call it 3 months roughly. But actually, with the large team on there, you're probably talking about 3 or 4 years' work. Do Dimitri and Matt fight when trying to see who is going to play it on stream? No. Dimitri says, do you mind if I play? And I say, no, go for it.
I need to drive because I want every single bit of information extracted from Matt's brain as much as possible.
You've got to be careful, there's a lot of rubbish up here.
Well, so far it's been fairly decent, I would say.
Will there be any new UK routes for TS? Do you mean Train Simulator or Train Sim World, Andy Manchester? Actually, I'll answer that. Yes. It doesn't matter. There's going to be new routes.
You cannot buy these hats and t-shirts, but you will be able to win them quite soon, actually. We're planning to run a couple of giveaways in the upcoming weeks. In fact, one should start should be starting quite soon. I think the end of this week. So you will have a chance to win them, but not buy them, unfortunately. They're exclusive. But yeah, we'll try to give away as many as we can this time. I think it's really worth it.
Schnauzer Pauser would like specifically your hat. Mr. Average Gamer, Peninsula Corridor will be available on consoles. Yes, it is the biggest route on consoles, yes. It's not quite the biggest route on PC. Sandbatch Grade is slightly longer, but only a hair's breadth longer. Any more US freight routes in the work for PS4? Yeah, there's always new stuff coming, Twisted Humour. There is actually freight on Peninsula Corridor with the Union Pacific locomotive. The short answer is stuff planned for the future? Is probably. We're always looking at stuff. So we have, yeah, there's lots of stuff coming out. Nothing's going to get forgotten.
Nothing.
Definitely, maybe. That's the word, Fab Diva. Have you had to do some optimization work on GW to add cars? The route was expensive. So the original mechanism for using cars was quite expensive. The new one isn't. What happened?
I oversped over 125. Oh my god, I can't believe.
Stephen Jan, Peninsula Corridor come to the Union Pacific GP38-2. And it's amazing how much that is not a reskin. There's so much work on the model, the horn positions, light positions, fan positions, so many little detail changes. Number of people asking questions on Pen Corridor. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Plans for next-gen consoles. Obviously, we're keeping a watching eye on what's going on with the next-gen consoles, but nothing to share at the moment.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, we're yet to see the debrief screen and have a proper look at it.
We're going to get a hyped debrief screen.
Zugbeeinflussung. SIFA.
Is the toilet door able to be opened on the Union Pacific loco? What is with you guys and toilet doors? No, this is just a genuine question. What's going on here? What's the thought process with having an accessible toilet?
Well, as long as it's 3D and not 2D.
I'm just curious because everybody asks. Are any other DLCs getting affected by the TSW 2020 update, not the ones from 2020 package? There are some updates across a few packs. The detail, I can't remember off the top of my head, but details are in the will be in the patch notes when they come out, hopefully tomorrow. I don't think there's anything substantial in there. It's mostly bug fixes. But you'll get the list tomorrow. Do crossings go up and down in 2020? No, they remain the same way that they worked previously. Why not model the toilets? Well, because they cost time and money to model, but would probably be better spent elsewhere on the train. But toilets are the most important part of the train. I guess in the real world, you're probably not wrong. You wouldn't want to get on a train that didn't have one. Can you change the field of view and driver view? On PC, you can use the mouse, but on the console, you can't at the moment. When can you drive to Aschaffenburg Harbour? At some point, hopefully, there'll be some diesels coming out in Germany. So, but again, nothing to announce on that at the moment. Is this out tomorrow, Pete? No, it's out on Thursday. It might be for you, Evie. Don't take my Wednesday away. Would it be possible to make ERTMS for TSW at some point? Yes.
Sifa.
Yeah, when there's a route and a train that requires it, that's when it will go in. There's no route map changes. If you just bring up the route map just real quick, just to show everybody, there's no substantial changes to the route map. It behaves as it was before.
Apart from the colour.
So, again, upgrades to the route map are on the wish list.
All right.
Ah, look at this! Look at this! So you can see all the speed limit changes, and we can see the times that Dimitri had to stop, and so forth. And obviously there was no passenger stops on this, so the stopping list at the bottom hasn't got much on it. But we can see much more clearly about what was going on. So you can look at this graph and you can see quite a lot of detail about, how did you adhere to speed limit? How did you slow down? Were you ever over speeding? You can see quite a lot of what's going on there. You can see particularly at the end there was a clipped speed change going down. So it's really quite cool. What you can do then is you can just use your normal screenshot functionality to take a screenshot of that and then share that with friends. Obviously your score is also on there. That was 46.90.
And you can see things like here, for example, where I took a pretty significant speed dip before. It wasn't as step by step as it was supposed to be, really. So I took a very pretty deep dip, which I personally would be looking at improving. So I can actually see where are the mistakes that I'm making while driving and kind of improve myself, because when you're driving for 40-50 minutes you kind of tend to forget what happened. So instead of rewatching or anything like that, you just have a look at the debris screen and it gives you a pretty good idea of where you went wrong and what you do well.
Yeah, so there's a lot you can learn, particularly if you're looking at why am I always getting a bad score at a particular station. You can look at the graph and I always put the brakes on way too early, and so play it again and try and make an effort to find a different stopping approach for coming in. So the idea with this is to help you get better as a driver. Now again, this is tracking speed limit adherence, it's tracking stopping accuracy and time compliance. Possibly in future updates we'll look at adding additional factors that it can score on, but that's what's in there at the moment, and that's already providing quite a good challenge for certainly the beta testers. What influences the driver route and train level? So when you do your scenario, the points then get added to the driver, the train, and the route that you were on at the time. So the more you drive a particular train, then you'll get the score added to the train. If the more you drive a route, it gets onto the route. So you can see, for example, maybe you drive the 185.2 on 2 or 3 different routes. So you'll see that going up more than it would on other routes and so forth.
Would it be possible to show the signal after the next signal? I'm assuming it's on the debris screen. I think that would be actually quite useful.
No, I think what he's saying is that at the moment you can only see the next signal when you're driving. Whereas if the one after that is 10 foot behind it and it's a red, then it'd be good to see it. Yes, we're looking at. You can't do that at the moment, but I am looking at options for how to improve that. Because potentially even one more is not enough. It might be that there's 3 signals close next to each other, and how do you deal with that? So there's a big issue to consider there.
Is there anything else we will want to show on?
So this is having completed a scenario. You've got your continue journey button at the top there, so and that will then fire up the next thing. So, which in this instance, because we haven't done anything actually on the journey, it'll go to the first thing and play that. Oh look, there's a stream. We should watch that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
When?
It's right now.
What?
That's really inconvenient that they're streaming while we're busy at work.
Actually, I do wonder how many people came exactly after seeing the loading screen, because it's the first time we've put the
During this
stream
brief
announcement
introduction, we'll
on the
go
loading
start
screen,
up,
so I
stopping,
hope that helps.
passenger door
Yeah,
operations.
but what Matt was talking about, the journey,
Climb aboard to
actually
get started.
it flows really nicely when you try it, especially for the first time. If you're playing a route for the first time, for example, which there will be plenty of routes to play for the first time. It actually provides a pretty good opportunity for you to slowly get into everything, and if you only have like an hour, for example, right now, you just go there and do journeys for an hour and then leave, and you can continue from the same spot instead of it's definitely more clear as it is right now than it was before.
Can we switch over to a passenger one real quick? I just want there's a couple of questions come in. That we can
What do you
answer.
mean switch?
So the first question someone asked a while back is, can you skip these tutorials that that are forced on you? Yes. Press escape, quit to main menu, and you can come out of them. You only have to go into them, then you can come straight out. You don't have to finish the tutorial. But if you actually get in the train and just follow the instructions till we get to sit down.
The battery will power up the control desk and allow you to interact with it. This locomotive draws power from the overhead electrical supply via a contact arm mount. A lot of your time will be spent in the drive.
Right, so you notice at the moment the
To get
signal
the
aspect is
locomotive up
showing
and
as
running,
green.
set the master
So if
switch.
you press escape now, go into settings, scroll down, and if you look at next signal aspect, if you turn that to off and then click apply and then come out, that is now a grey circle. So now you know that there is a signal in 362 meters, but you do not know what aspect that signal is showing. So that's a way to just step that difficulty level up a little bit, because now you haven't got knowledge that a driver wouldn't have in reality. You need to be able to now watch what's going on, remember what the previous
Headlights
aspect
are
was,
important,
and
letting
react
others
accordingly.
around know that a locomotive is operational.
And you can turn those displays on the right off in the same menu.
We now need to wait a moment and let the brake system charge. It'll take a minute or two.
Any other questions, guys? We've got 3 more minutes, so make sure you ask away. I'm actually going to quit this. Do we need anything else in this?
Not on that one, no. Do you want to just fire up Long Island? We'll see if we can see some cars moving around. I think people would like to see
that's a
some
good
cars.
point. Good point.
We won't play this route intro. We'll
Yeah, I'm
skip
just
out
gonna
of it.
quit it.
Just again to show you that you can do that, but leave it also to be a nice surprise for you. These route intro tutorials, they're really nicely done. The team have put a lot of work into all the videos and so forth that go with them. Can we just stream every day? No. Are the clouds new? Nope, the clouds aren't new. Will the Class 800 be added? Possibly at some point, Steve. There's no plans at the moment. At some point, all trains will be added. Don't hold me to that. Will the old diorama from the beta be coming back? The old Fairhope Crossing diorama. Watch this space.
Oh, you can see the cars.
There you go. Cars on Long Island,
On the
folks.
Long Island
Cars on Long
Follow the
Island.
markers to catch the train.
Yellow bus as well.
Can you replay the route introduction? Yes, you can, Train. That's a really good question. When we get back to the menu, we'll quickly show you how you do it. There's no simple controls, Chris, no. It's the collectible. If I see a blank poster, I'm compelled to walk up to it.
Just OCD.
It happens even in real life. I walk up to a poster that's empty and I'm thinking, why isn't it populating?
Yep, working well. Oh no. I've lost some messages.
Right, so if you go back to the main menu then, one of the questions was, can you replay those intro tutorials that are automatic? Short answer is you can. So if you go into training. Sorry.
It's okay.
Go to training. And inside there is the Long Island Railroad introduction. And if you go back and switch to Great Western.
It's gonna start the
we can skip out of it. Does the destination board work correctly on 2020? On the trains that had it before, so no new trains have got that functionality. On the trains that had it before, it should still work fine.
Quid?
Yep. Working cars will be on PS4 as well, Liam. So if you go into training as well, in here you'll find Train Sim World Introduction, which is the game intro that plays right at the very beginning, and then Great Western Express Introduction, which is the route intro for this one as well. So all of those intros that have been added can be manually kicked off anytime you want to play them again as well, which is quite nice. And I guess one more thing just before we finish, if you go to service mode, go to timetables, and if you just go into the 166, set that to spring clear. Sorry, spring cloudy. There we go. Nice bit of clouds. And click continue. Now pick, I don't know, some service around 8ish. So, no, 8 a.m. Back where we were.
Oh, 8 a.m. Sorry.
Yeah. Background music's the same. Something like, yeah, that one will do. If you just fire that one up.
And yeah, guys, don't forget about the save games, which will be erased.
Yeah, if you've got any save games in process, finish them off, because we've had to make so many changes to some of the underlying functionality that save games won't load in the new version. Save as a function still works. Some people seem to jump to the conclusion that meant save game was being taken away as a function, but that is not the case. Right, so if you now press the T key, if you now scroll this down, you can see, right click, that's it, you can see where all of your future stops are. So this is something a lot of people have been asking, how do I see where a train's going to be stopping? When is it going to be stopping? So your entire schedule is then available on that. And again, that's the same as the schedule you see on the escape key as well. So don't forget the T key or the press and hold the map button on consoles to get that one to come up as well.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. So don't forget, guys, this is coming out this Thursday at 4 p.m. It hits. The update will hit all of your devices, so Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. The free update includes all the changes that you've seen on the screen so far, and there will be added a new US route, which you probably all already heard about, and we will be showing you this route on Thursday at 6 p.m. so 2 hours after the release of Train Sim World 2020. So feel free to join us. We really hope you enjoyed it, all the changes, and thank you very much, Matt, for going through everything. It was very
No problem at all.
nice from you, very detailed.
Before we wind up, I just want to pass off a huge thanks to the team that worked on this. They're really keen to sort of see, they're really keen to get your feedback as well. But my personal thanks to everyone that's worked on this. They've put in so much work on this update, and it's really cool to get it out there. So yeah, great work, team.
Thank you very much, all the people who work here at Dovetail, and thank you for watching, guys. And we are very excited to see you on Thursday.
All right, see
Cheers,
you Thursday,
guys.
folks.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Have a great end of the day. So now we're just gonna turn everything.